Okay, so I'm here to talk about all things home parties. I have done a lot of home parties in my life, and they are so much fun. Have any of you who are here done a home party before? Some of you have. Amanda, I know, has. Becky has. Okay, so it's about half and half. So I do my parties differently than Becky probably does her parties, and everybody has their own little thing that they like to do. So I'm going to tell you how I do mine, but please know that this is not set in stone. If you want to tweak it, if you want to put a little bit of your own pizzazz in it, do it. That's what home parties is. You're selling yourself. You're selling your own business, right? And so don't be afraid to change things up and make things your own. So first of all, why do a home party, right? When we're in this age of social media, it just would seem so much easier just to get on our computers or get on our phones and just do a Facebook party. But it is honestly so amazing to do home parties because you know what it's like to get one of these books in your hands. As soon as you get one in your hands, you want more, right? You can feel the quality. You can see how engaging and how the illustrations are so beautiful. And so home parties have the same kind of effect. Plus, there's also that whole herd mentality. Once one of like your host gets a little excited about one book, all of her girlfriends jump in and also need that book for their kids. And so that's what's really great about home parties is because their friends are playing off of one another because they're in the same room together. I love home parties because you can theme them. So spring, you can do like step out on my deck party, like a mommy and me party, party in the park. I've done parties in the park before, which are so fun. Just kind of set up a little display there. There's just a ton of different ways that you can do that, and it just is so fun. Plus, it also gives you an opportunity to have the same host over and over again because you're always having these different themed parties and they're really fun. So when you're booking a home party, very similar to when you're booking a online party, I always offer 2 dates. I always talk about this, but it's going to really help you as well as your host, because if you know that your host wants to book a May party and you say when in May works for you, if she opens up her calendar to the month of May, she's going to see all the things she has to do and it'll be like, oh, never mind, I have no time in May. But if you give her 2 set dates, chances are one of those days she's going to have free in May, right? And so then she's not looking at the entire calendar thinking, oh my word, there's no way. She's only looking at those 2 dates. Plus, this helps you with your own agenda as well, because you know that you're only scheduling parties on days that work for you. I normally set aside about 3 hours for a home party for the actual party. Obviously, I live in a small town, so often I'm traveling quite a bit of a distance, so you have to factor that in as well. But I typically say between 2 to 3 hours for a party, just because the actual party itself might only be an hour or 45 minutes, but then you never know how long ladies are going to start chatting. It's an evening out for them. And so they end up chatting and you're going to end up kind of be waiting on orders. So just set that time aside for yourself. I always arrive 40 minutes before the actual party time. I do this because I want to have all my books set up, have all my catalogs spread out, and I want to have time so that the host I can really engage with the host beforehand so that I can talk to her about it, see what her wish list looks like, get to know her kids a little bit as well. And also your host is your best recruit lead. So that's a time too where you can say, hey, just so you know, if you're watching me tonight and you're loving what you're seeing and you're so excited about the books, we can always flip this into your launch party. And that's an amazing, amazing way to build your team too. Hosts, the majority of my team, lots of you have been hosts of mine in the past. Okay, so just like home or Facebook parties, hostess coaching for home parties is huge. You want to make sure that your host knows exactly what is expected of her as well as what she gets out of this party. If she's just inviting her friends but really doesn't know how to answer their questions, then it's not going to be as successful as a party as if you had given her all of that information. And it might seem like a ton of information to give her, but you really want to coach her through it because you're the go-between, and you're not seeing her friends until that actual evening, where she's the one who's inviting them. She's answering questions. She's telling her friends who can't come to the party what the customer specials are and how to order, right? You're not doing that. And so you need to make sure that your host has all that information. So I always make sure that my home party hosts have a copy of the customer specials, a copy of the hostess rewards, and run through the hostess rewards. Make sure she knows that she needs to hit that $200 in minimum sales to start earning free book credit, and then walk her through that. Explain to her what the doubling up means. Show her how she can just get free books, but if she wants to double up and get them at 70% off, she can. So make sure she knows this all before you actually step foot into her house. I also make sure that she has, if she's fairly local to me, I make sure that she has a copy of the catalog, a physical copy, because this way she can take it to work with her. If she's a teacher, she can leave it in the staff room. And I've had hosts come to their parties, and they've just handed me a stack of order forms before I even did their party, because they'd already been doing that legwork beforehand. So you can let her know that, like, hey, here's a couple catalogs, take them to work with you, take them to your mommy's night out, or whatever it might be. Sorry, I've got all these things coming in. Okay, whatever it might be, she can do all of that legwork beforehand. The other thing I have her do is when she is inviting her friends. The first thing that most people do with home parties is say, oh, my house isn't big enough. And I've done home parties in a 1-bedroom tiny apartment. So it can be done. And the thing is they're like, oh, well, I'll only invite like 4 of my friends. That's fine if you only have 4 people there, but the chances are all 4 of those people she's going to invite aren't necessarily going to be able to come. So I always let her know that the majority of the time, a third of the people that you invite, or between a quarter and a third of the people you invite are actually going to show up. So if you want 10 people to come to your party, invite 30, and so on and so forth. And you always have to keep into account, those last minute cancellations. So even if she has 10 coming and 4 cancel last minute, well, there's still 6 people coming to her party. That's still a pretty decent party. So keep that in mind and reassure your host. It doesn't matter how big your house is. We can sit on the floor. You don't have to have an elaborate spread. Lots of people think they need to have lots of snacks. I suggest just have some cookies and coffee. That's all you need, especially because we work with books. And so you don't want a bunch of food and sticky fingers all over the books. Also, sticky fingers makes me think, because we work with children's books, let your host know that if she's comfortable with it, her friends can bring their kids. Lots of different direct sales companies, you go to the party and you've got to find a sitter, and that's a huge reason a lot of moms specifically don't end up going to their friends' parties, is because they couldn't find childcare, or they couldn't afford childcare. And what's better to bring your kids to than a children's book party? It definitely makes it a little bit more nutty. It's a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more loud, a little bit more fun. But I can guarantee you that those little people are master manipulators when it comes to telling their moms what they want. And your sales will go up because it's hard to say no to your kids when they're asking for an educational book. And a story of that goes, I told some of you this before, but a good friend of mine came to a party of mine last year, and they all brought their kids, and she ended up buying the knitting kit for her 8-year-old son. I can guarantee you she would not have purchased the knitting kit if Solomon hadn't been there, but because he was, and he was all of a sudden decided he wanted to take up knitting, she was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And so I sold a knitting kit. So keep that in mind. It's a really great way of getting more people to your party, but also boosting your sales. So what should you bring to a home party? This is always a little bit nerve-wracking because you don't want to forget anything. So definitely make sure you bring catalogs. I try to have a catalog for every person that's going to be there. So again, hostess coaching, I always check in with my host the night before saying, what's your rough number? How many people are you expecting? So I know how many catalogs to bring. And I always stuff them. You can with a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to tell you what they are. But some people like to have like those folders that kind of just open up and you've got everything nicely placed together. I just stuff them in the catalog. It's just easier for me. So I make sure that there's a copy of the customer special in the catalog, a copy of the host special, because you never know who's sitting there thinking, oh, I want to do this. This would be fun. I also make sure there's a wish list in there, because as I'm going through the book, it's guaranteed they're seeing books that they want. So then they can just write it down. So later on, if they're having trouble finding it in the catalog, they can just say, oh, this book that you showed. And then I know what they're talking about. Make sure there's, I use the $100 free book draw form. I put that in the catalog as well. This is a really subtle way of seeing if they want to host a party, or maybe they're interested in the business, because they're just filling out that little sheet for that $100 free book draw, but also checking off all the things they're interested in as well. So when they hand that to you, you can just scan it and be like, oh, I see that you're interested in this business. Can I answer any questions for you, or can we set up a time that I can chat with you about it? And it's a really easy way without having to be upfront and being like, hey, are you interested in this? So definitely do the $100 free book draw. And then I also add an order form. The reason I add the order form is not for them to do all their math, but it just speeds up the process if they can write in the last 6 digits of the ISBN and the book title. If they can do that with how much it is, then I can do all the taxes and shipping and all of that afterwards, and it totally speeds up the process at the end of the party. So I make sure I put in an order form there as well. I also bring pens. Bring lots of pens. Don't count on your host having pens for everyone. Obviously, bring your books. That would be a really sad book party without them. If you bring a display, some people bring just like one book rack, so you can just put them all in. I just bring a couple crates so I can stack them so that it still looks pretty on their dining room table. If you have square, you can still bring that, because lots of people might want to order with their credit card, which you can just enter in right in the Web Express there, but I also use my Square, and bring a float, because believe it or not, a lot of people will pay cash at a home party, and that's something that I've forgotten a few times because I just totally forgot, oh wait, yeah, I can take cash at a home party. So make sure that you're bringing a float as well. And I also always bring my computer. If you don't have a computer, that's fine, but especially in the fall season when books are rotating through the warehouse really, really quickly and things are going and fluctuating in and out of stock, I make sure I bring my computer so that when they're giving me their order forms, I'm entering it in right there. So I know that their books are being placed on hold and I don't have to worry about anything going out of stock and then me having to follow up with them later on saying, sorry about that, these are out of stock. It also allows me to check if things are in stock for them, because especially if they're looking at the paper catalog, some of those things won't be in stock. And so I let them know that right at the beginning. Just say, just so you know, this is a full catalog of everything that's being released throughout the year. So some of these books will not have been released yet. So if they're on your list, I'm going to take a quick look at it when you come to check out, and I'll make sure that they're in stock for you. That way they have a heads up, and then there's no miscommunication or frustration at the end. And if one of the books they did choose is out of stock, it's a great way for you to follow up with them later for a future sale and make a repeat customer out of them. So then I would just write down their name and say, great, when this book comes out, I will for sure let you know so that we can order it right away for you. Okay, so the actual home party itself, I do mine really casually. I do show some of the books and do kind of a little presentation, but basically what I do is once everybody's there, I have everybody like grab a drink, sit down, they've all got their catalogs sitting there, and then I just introduce myself. And the one big thing that I always recommend doing when you're at a home party is tell people your why. Why are you standing in front of them? Why are you there? How did you get into Usborne and why are you doing it? And the reason I suggest doing this is not only is it letting them know a little bit more about you, but there's women sitting in that group who are thinking, how is she doing this? And this is kind of interesting. I wonder if I could do this. But they're not going to tell you that. So if you can tell them what your why is, it's something that they can relate to and connect to you on. So I will just say something like, hey, everyone, my name's Raylyn. I'm so thankful to my host, whoever it is, for inviting me into your home. At this point, I often give her a gift. So I'll just bring like a phonics reader or a beginner's book, something that's a little bit of a cheaper book, but that I'm still giving her a really good free book. That's another little subtle hint like, oh wait, if I host a party, I also get a free book. And it's just a really nice gesture to your host. So I always do that. And then just give my little why. So I found Usborne just under 2 years ago. It completely fell in my lap. I had never heard of the company before, but I fell so in love with how engaging and interactive and educational these books are that I really wanted to build a free library for my boys. And so I thought, why not give this a try? And here I am. Totally did not expect this to be happening, to be standing in front of you here today. But in the last 2 years, I've earned 3 cruise trip tickets. I make a steadily increasing monthly income, and I'm able to stay home for my boys and work from home. So that's why I'm here. I love these books, and I'm so excited to show them to you tonight. That's all it has to be, just like a quick little blurb. This is who I am. Then I go, and I always make sure that I pick out some of our most popular series, and I like to start off with what I call the questions and answers game. This is just a fun little icebreaker because you have to keep in mind that a lot of these ladies, they might not know each other. So this is just a fun little icebreaker game without making them like shake hands and tell each other about themselves or go around the circle or whatever. So what I do is I take our very first question and answer series, first questions and answer series, and questions and answers. So I take about 5 books. I always take What is Pooh, What Makes It Rain, and like questions and answers, dinosaurs or something like that, and then 2 others. And then I say, I'm going to show you how amazing these books are, how great these questions are, and how much you can learn from them. And I'm going to ask a question from each of the books. Whoever gets the answer right first gets a point, and the person with the most points at the end will win a free book. So this gets people excited because they know that they can win something. And so then I will, just open up the books. I show them, tell them what kind of age group they're for, and then I just open one and say, do you know what color whale Pooh is? Right? From like the What is Pooh book. And normally most people don't know. And I'm like, see, you learned something new from a book for a 3-year-old. And then you go from there, right? Just make it lighthearted, and, telling them that whale poo is pink and go from there. So that's kind of what I do. There's a myriad of different games, and there's lots of different game options, even just in our own groups. So you can go check those out. But if you need more ideas, you can let me know because I've got lots of home party games I do. But that's the one that is really fun. It's quick, it's easy, but it's also showcasing the book. So I'm not drawing out the actual where I'm standing in front of them for that long. Then I'll just go through some of our most popular series. So I always do peep insides, look inside your body. If it's in stock, make sure you're showing that one because I always sell that at home parties. Look inside your body, and then see insides. So I do that series. I do the beginners series for sure. I'm trying to think, and I kind of start from doing babies books all the way up to older books. If I know the moms there don't have older kids, then I won't feature that. And vice versa. I kind of just base it on who's there. And then I show activity books as well. So definitely the White Plains. And then I do have more books just set out on the table that they can go browse at the end of the party. Once I've shown them all the books, I just give them a few different facts about the books themselves, how educational they are. I might tell them a little bit about how our reading program works if they ask. And then I just let them know. that they are free to kind of shop around, take a peek at all the books that I have. But before they go, I let them know that if they have a wish list that is running off the page, that I would recommend that maybe they would be interested in doing their own party. And keep in mind that they might be thinking, there's no way I want people in my own home. So just say, and you know, I do home parties, but I also do online parties. So if you'd be more interested in a Facebook party, I do those as well. So I make sure that I get that out there, that I do offer that. And then I let them know about the customer specials. For every $50 that they spend, they get a book at 50% off. I'm just going through, what else do I say? I think that's pretty much it. And then I let them know how they can check out. So that I'll be sitting over there. Come find me. Otherwise, ask any questions that you have tonight, because I am happy to answer them. So that's kind of how I do my parties. It's very easy, very quick. I know that some ladies have like I know Becky, I think, does it, where she has her like computer running. Is that you, Becky, who does that? Somebody does. Oh, no, it's not you. Somebody does it. I can't remember. Maybe it was on Val's team. Someone has it where it's like her computer's running and it's going through like different YouTube videos of different books too. So maybe she doesn't have those books on hand, but people can just look at her computer and see some of these books running through. That's definitely an option you can do as well. And then I also make sure that I'm bringing along other hostess packages and recruiting packages, so that if I have somebody who's interested in hosting, then right away I have catalogs, I have all of the host rewards and all of that information that she needs to take home, so that she can start planning her own party. And I also bring business leads packages as well. So for that, I would have kind of like how our commission structure works, how just all that kind of stuff. You can do the double host rewards, how they can do that, a copy of the Quick Start program, so that they can kind of get a brief overview, tangible overview of what the business is like as well. And it's something that they can go home with. How many books do you bring? That's a really good question, and I always say less is more, especially at home parties. I know at vendor events we say bring as many as you can, because the more you bring, the more you sell. But at a home party, the more you bring, the more overwhelming it is, because they're just looking at the table being like, where do I start? So I bring just a fraction of what I have in stock. It's up to you, but I really do kind of base it on the mom. I make sure that the host tells me the kind of her friends' kids' ages, and so then I'm really tailoring it to them, because there's no sense me bringing complete Shakespeare and a bunch of graphic novels if all of the moms there have kids that are 2 and 3, right? So yeah, that's not like, I'm not going to give you a specific number to bring, but just less is more. I think that's basically it of what I was going to say. I'll probably think of something else, but if you have questions, just unmute yourself, or you can put it in the chat box like Amanda just did, and I can answer it for you. But I think I'm trying to think what else I missed. While you're thinking of your questions, if you popped on after I said this, make sure you take a picture of yourself and post it in the sweepstakes, so that you get entries into our sweepstakes, and also you get entered into the wild cards this month, because for being on trainings, you get wild cards. Any questions? No? Oh, I'm just going to take that as that I was super thorough. Okay. Well, rather than just sitting here and staring at you all, if you have questions, post it on the group and I can get back to you, or you can message me as well. But otherwise, I really encourage you to get out there and try to book a few home parties. I think that spring is such a fun time to do them, because people are wanting to get out of their house. They're so sick of being stuck in their house after winter. So get out there, try to book some home parties for me, and I hope they go so well for you.